This video is third in the series concerning oil painting surfaces. The first video concerns an overview of materials and process, followed by a video showing how to assemble the stretcher bars and, most importantly, how to keep that framework true and square. Today's video will be going over the deep profile or gallery wrap bars, which allow you to paint clear around the surface to the sides of the canvas, eliminating the need for a picture frame. And remember, when operating power equipment, as you'll see in this video, make sure that you play it safe and always wear protective gear. We don't want anybody getting hurt. There you go. When it comes to the deeper profile bars intended for gallery wrap hanging, you can 1. Buy them already made, 2. Attach 2 standard bars together, or 3. As we will do here, simply attach wooden strips to standard bars to achieve the desired depth. I like for my gallery wrap pieces to be at least 1.5 inches deep, requiring me to add a strip 3/4 of an inch thick to the standard thickness of the stretcher bar. I make my strips of white pine. You can also use cabinet grade plywood. I begin by ripping a board into 3/4 inch wide strips on my table saw. Then I turn the strips 90 degrees and run them through the saw again to achieve a 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch square strip. I do these in batches to have plenty on hand, as I also use these for backing my painting panels, which I will explain in a later video. I look over the strips and select the smoothest outside edges for where the canvas will overwrap, making sure there are no slivers, knots, dinks, or dips on this edge. Both ends of each strip will need to be mitered at a perfect 45-degree angle. I begin by taking all the strips and mitering one end of each strip. Then, I square up the mitered ends of all the pieces and clamp them together so they don't move. I then measure from the squared up mitered ends and mark the desired lengths. Using the 45-degree angle on my combination square, I pencil in the guidelines. After double checking my measurements, I miter cut the strips to length using the guidelines. I line up the pairs of strips of equal length back to back to see that they have been cut to the exact same length. Once all the ripping, sawing, and mitering is done, I assemble all the pieces and tools. For this stage, I am using 1 1/4 inch long star drive wood screws, 3 for each strip. A star driver that attaches to my drill and drives in the screws. A drill bit for drilling the pilot holes that is sized slightly smaller than the thickness of the screw shanks. And a countersink bit that also attaches to the drill and creates a depression, allowing the head of the screw to sink just below the wood surface. I choose to screw down the strips instead of gluing or nailing, to allow the deep profile bar to be returned to a shallower profile should I ever choose to frame the piece in a traditional picture frame later. Lay out the mitered strips of equal length. For strips up to 40 inches in length, I mark the center and the ends, keeping at least 4 inches away from the mitered end. In the exact center of each penciled mark, I then drill the pilot holes. I countersink the tops of the pilot holes to allow the screw head to sink just flush or slightly below the wood surface. I insert the screws just enough to stay in place until I place the strip on the back side of the stretcher bar, making sure it is perfectly flush with the outer edge and that the tips of both bars and strips meet equally. Once everything is in place and I have double checked all alignments, I then screw home the strip good and tight, but not so tight as to embed the screw too far or possibly crack the wood strip. As with the shallower profile frame that we put together earlier, the corners here are fitted, squared, measured, and temporarily secured with the cardboard triangles. I then make sure all the edges and corners are sanded smooth. This frame is now ready for the canvas fabric.